Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So if you're new here, a warm welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for the support. So if this is the first time you're stopping by, this channel is geared towards helping you find fully funded scholarships to study abroad for both undergraduate and graduate level, and to help you find visa sponsored jobs abroad. So if what I just shared interests you, then make sure that you like this video, subscribe and share it with other people. And let's get down with today's topic. So last video I talked about the first step that you need to take if you want to apply for scholarships and admission to schools abroad, and today we'll be talking about step number 2, which is funding. So if you want to know how you can secure fully funded scholarships to study abroad, then continue watching. Okay, so with this second step, which is funding or financing your studies. So with funding, obviously funding is the money that is given to you to finance your studies, and how you're going to attain this money is by applying for scholarship. So once you have identified the school, which I mentioned in the first video, and you know what course you want to do, and you have looked into the requirements, the eligibility criterion and the timeline, it's now that you apply for funding. And I know I did mention a bit in the first video about the financial aid options, or the financial application options that you can do if you want for scholarships to finance your studies abroad. And in this video we are unpacking funding, financial aid or scholarships. So how you can go about finding scholarships abroad is obviously by applying for them. So with the schools that you want to apply to, you should make sure that they offer financial aid. And financial aid comes in different categories, and I'm going to list all those categories here, and I'll be explaining each one of them in detail. Okay, so as you can tell, this is like the next day or so, although it's not the next day, this is like the next week from the day that I was filming this video, but it's due to health issues. But now I'm back, and sorry for that rant, but let's continue. So with scholarships, we have two types of scholarships, which are need-based scholarships and merit-based scholarships. So let me start with merit-based. So merit-based scholarships is what you get based off of your merits, based off of your academic performance, and you're given this scholarship because of how you performed in your, say, high school or in your bachelor's degree if you're applying for a master's scholarship. And usually this kind of scholarship is automatically given to you when you apply for admission. You don't have to submit in a separate application. Whereas with need-based scholarship, which is the money that you get based off of your financial need, is evaluated after you have submitted a financial aid application. So on top of your application for admission, you have to submit in financial aid application. And need-based is also categorized as for scholarship or full ride, which basically means you are given all the money that you need to finance your studies. So the next type of funding that you can get from schools is assistantships, and let me explain this. Assistantships are usually given for students who are applying for master's programs and PhD programs. And with assistantship, what usually happens is you apply for admission, you get your admission decision, that is if you're accepted into the school. So let's say you're accepted and you don't have the means to finance your studies in the school. What you can do is you can seek or ask for assistantship program if the school has assistantship program, and if it does, then you can apply for this position. So basically assistantships, it's working on campus and mainly assisting the professors in your department, or working an administrative role within campus. So that's basically assistantships, and usually once you've acquired an assistantship position, you get waived off of your tuition. That means you study for free, and then the money that you're going to get as your paycheck from your assistantship position, you're going to use that to pay off your living expenses. So that's how you can finance your studies via assistantships. The next category is grants, and usually with grants, this is like the government money that is given to students who are in need of funding. And usually, if say you are applying for a grant or government-based scholarship, there are certain criteria that you need to fulfill, and there are certain terms and conditions that you also need to abide by. And usually some examples of this are scholarships like Fulbright scholarship, Chevening scholarship, and the likes. And if you are an international student, those are kind of grants or scholarships that you have to target to finance your studies abroad. But for students who are like locals in that country, obviously it's gonna be their own country financing their studies. And in most cases, if it's students who are US citizens, what they usually have to file, it's a form called FAFSA. Unlike with international students, when you apply for funding, you file what is called CSS. But with the US citizens, because this is like a government grant, when they apply for this type of grant, they submit a form called FAFSA. Alright, so that is regarding grants. And usually grants come in full package, so that means they pay the full cost of attendance in that school. And now moving on to the last type of scholarship or the last type of funding that you can apply for, it's work study. So with work study, how this works is that just like assistantships, you apply for a position within the campus that you would be working for, and you'll be earning money through this work study. Obviously, work study, it means you're gonna work and you're gonna get paid for it. Okay, so and usually with work study, it's usually given when you are given, sometimes when you're given need-based scholarship, or sometimes when you're given merit-based scholarship. So with work study, how it happens is they'll break down the composition of your scholarship, and for the most part you'll find that your scholarship is also made up of work study. And with work study, obviously you're going to work for a pay, and sometimes this portion of scholarship will be to facilitate, or not necessarily facilitate, but it will be to take care of your living expenses while you study in this university, in this campus. So basically that's the role of work study. And for international students, you're only allowed to work 20 hours per week. That means you're going to have to work only part-time and not full-time. So as to maintain your visa status, you have to work 20 hours per week as an international student. So that pretty much sums up our funding step, or the second step that you can follow, or which you have to follow if you want to study abroad on full scholarships. And I did mention in the first video that for international students to apply for funding, you guys use a form called CSS profile, which is found on College Board, or you can alternatively ask your school to submit ISFA, which is the International Student Financial Aid application that you send in substitute of CSS. Like I did mention, CSS comes at a fee. ISFA is also found on College Board, or you can request your school to send in their own form, because most schools have their own specialized form which you can send out to the school to apply for funding. So basically those are the only forms that you fill out as an international student. So for students applying for master's programs or say PhD programs, there will be an online form that you fill to apply for funding. And for undergraduate, you fill CSS or ISFA. So basically that sums up our second step, which is funding your studies abroad. So I hope you guys benefited from this video, and if you did, remember to give this video a big thumbs up, and remember to support this channel by subscribing down below and sharing this video with other people, so that this video can be seen by as many people seeking financial aid as possible. And until we meet again on the next video, I hope you guys are keeping well, and I hope that you guys don't lose hope in applying for scholarships abroad, because who knows, this year might be your year to study abroad. So until then, let's meet again on the next one.